Part 2. So the response that the Chiapas attorney give to Carlos's attorney is like, this is not about the money in dispute. Like, this case is not about the money. This case is about the defamation. So where is the money? Because he never got paid. Carlos's lawyer is like, wait a second. Go back to page 16 of the original answer that was submitted on behalf of Carlos Lopez, as well as the prayer for relief. So you can see that this case, in part, is about that money. So, at this point, just let us know where the funds are or confirm that they're still in your trust fund, because that's originally what the Chiapas' lawyer had told Carlos's lawyer. Then the Chiapas' lawyer responds and says, what I told you was that the bank had concluded their investigation and recovered the money your client had his friend wrongfully withdraw by fraud. The client brought the money in, and I wasn't sure where the money was placed. But I have now confirmed that they are not in the IOLTA account. What I learned is that law firms have to have very strict rules concerning how the client's funds are handled, where the money is kept, how it's used, or when it can be used. So they have to have an IOLTA account, which stands for Interest on Lawyer Trust Account. And then Carlos's attorney is saying, well, your law firm, as in the Chiapas' law firm, does not have the right to these funds. The Chiapas' attorney is like, no, your client, as in Carlos, your client is the one that doesn't have the rights to these funds, because based on your client's words, which Carlos never said this, he received the money, spent the money, and never paid the money back. This is why Carlos had to submit that declaration, because he did pay that money back. Chiapas' attorney is like, it's a strange position for you to be, because your client is the one that committed fraud by altering the payee in line of the check and giving the money to a third party. He didn't alter. He endorsed. Not only that, but the Chiapas' attorney also said that aside from Carlos admitting that he received the money, spent the money, and never returned the money, that their client, which is the Chiapas, are willing to repay Carlos the $16,000 as long as he publicly apologizes for his defamatory statements that he made on social media that my client kept the money. But they did get the money back, because the lawyer said that the bank retracted the money from the Carlos's friend's account. So Carlos had to pay his friend back. They have the money. Carlos never kept it. He might have gotten it when his friend cashed the check. He got it, he used it. That's the purpose of the money. But when the money from the other bank took it back from his friend's bank, Carlos gave the money back to his friend to replace the money that was taken away from his bank. So again, 1 minus 1 is 0. Carlos's attorney is like, you have until the end of the day of tomorrow to get those funds to my IOLTA account. Chiapas' attorney is like, you don't have to wait until tomorrow. We're not going to wire you the money. It is in our position that your client engaged in fraud, and we need a jury to hear the evidence and determine what should happen, because we want as much room between our actions and Carlos's repeated fraud. This money never belonged to the Chiapas. This money never belonged to the Chiapas. If they want to proceed with the defamation case, by all means, but you still have to give the money back, because that's not yours to begin with. So Carlos's attorney is like, okay, then explain this. How is it that the money was recovered or retracted by your client's bank, by the Chiapas' bank, and now somehow magically found its way to Carlos Lopez? I mean, how? Chiapas is like, the answer to that question is outlined in our petition. And then Carlos's attorney is like, no, You clearly stated that your client brought the money in and I wasn't sure where the money was placed. So if your client had the money and brought it in, then my client couldn't possibly have the money. This is something that I shouldn't have to explain to you. So where is the money? So January 6th, Carlos Lopez files a no evidence and traditional motion for summary judgment. Summary. The Chapas allege that Carlos committed forgery. But forgery has two essential elements to be considered a forgery. One, it's the forging of a writing. And two, the intent is to defraud or harm someone else. An example of forgery. A blank check, Carlos writes his name or his friend's name on it. He signs the Chapas' name on it and goes to cash. That's forgery. He did not do that. Also, the plaintiff, which is the Chapas, they are suing Carlos for stating publicly that he never received the money that was raised from the public for Carlos and his family. This is true. Not only did Carlos not get the money, but he didn't get any physical items that were also donated. Once the check was given to Carlos, Carlos had the right to endorse it to his friend so his friend could cash it for him. A payee adding a new payee to a check that he properly possesses is in no way forgery in Texas. Plus, there's no evidence that the intent was to defraud or harm the Chapas. So, he still hasn't received the money. The Chapas have the money. The lawyer is still moving forward with the defamation case, but completely ignoring the fact that the funds still have to be paid to Carlos. Now, let me tell you something. I've met Carlos Lopez. Since the start, I always thought he was a genuine human being. I believed in him. Despite what people told me, I've had a lot of people reach out to me to tell me otherwise, to call me names. Even Mona Chapa, if you recall one of my videos, she reached out to me to try to convince me that who I believe in, like I was wrong, right? Because they claimed to have their own truth. Now that I've met him and I became aware of so many things that are even outside of this case. You know, he's a genuine human being. He is genuinely good. He's a good person. And everything is taking a toll on him. And he's still standing strong. He's a true believer of God because God represents truth and justice. And justice will be made. You know, he has cameras in his house. Nothing was delivered to him. Everything that was donated, the physical items that were donated. If you were one of the people that donated it, you know, reach out to him because nothing was ever delivered. Yeah, there are two sides to this story. And what I know now is it will be an eye-opener to many people that doubted him, that ever raised a doubt in regards to his intentions, in regards to his interests, in regards to his treatment. I also want this to be done because he deserves peace. He deserves to live his life and not have to worry about something like this.